Brandon Aiyuk is staying with the 49ers. Let's go, baby. Let's freaking go, man. I'm all for it, dude. I'm so glad that Brandon Aiyuk is most likely going to stay on the team and just be back with the team in general. I'm super happy with that. April 1st is coming upon us. The rumors of him being traded are dwindling away into the wind, and I cannot be more excited about that. I'm happy that Brandon Aiyuk is returning to this team. Look, I know that a lot of people were talking about, there's talk. They were accepting phone calls for Brandon Aiyuk. John Lynch was accepting phone calls and there's negotiations. No, there wasn't. Just like it started with, teams are calling about Brandon Aiyuk and they're just poking around. 49ers are accepting those phone calls saying, hey, what are you going to offer? They do that with every single player that they could potentially trade if they can get out of a contract, out of a player. They've done that with pretty much every single player. They've accepted phone calls. It is a philosophy they have preached over and over and over again, that we accept phone calls on everyone because it would be dumb not to. And they have said, with that philosophy, it has to be an offer we're blown away with. No one is going to offer the 49ers a crazy, blown away offer to the 49ers for Brandon Aiyuk, coming off that knee injury and off of the not very good start for Brandon Aiyuk coming back from his holdout of his contract. His value could not be lower. Right now, you can't get a second-round pick for him. And that would be the offer I think would blow a team away, would blow away the San Francisco 49ers. And no team's giving away a second-round pick. That is just not happening. Again, their philosophy, they accept phone calls, and it has to be an offer that blows them away. They're not getting that for Brandon Aiyuk. 3 6th-rounders, 7th-rounders, whatever that Larry Krueger brought up, not happening. Okay, that's not a good deal. No, they're not going to give away a player and a 4th-rounder for Brandon Aiyuk. His value is way too low right now. It would not happen. A team would have to be desperate, such as the Patriots and Browns, to give up a second-round pick, and they're not doing that, especially for a player who most likely is potentially he could start week 1. There's a possibility, but most likely won't be back until mid-season. So giving up a second-round pick now for a player you don't get until that won't be able to help you until halfway through the season with no practice and no real training camp would be ridiculous and stupid of a team. Brandon Aiyuk will be part of this team for years to come, and I cannot be more excited about that. Diana Rossini has come out that said the 49ers most likely will not trade Brandon Aiyuk by the April 1st deadline because that's the 11th hour. We're in the 11th hour right now. That is the deadline because the moment April 1st comes around, the moment the clock strikes midnight and it's April 1st, and the 49ers are going to be stuck with him, and I couldn't be happier. Brock Purdy has an amazing connection with Brock Purdy. Has an amazing connection with Brandon Aiyuk. Him and that connection is something that you would miss on this team. Brock Purdy could trust him to be where he needs to be, and Brock Purdy could trust him with his hands. Again, didn't have the greatest start when he came off his off the holdout, right? Didn't have the greatest start. But when he comes back, when he's ready next year, he'll have a whole offseason this time, OTAs, training camp, actual preseason. He will actually be ready to go compared to that holdout time where he didn't come back until week 1 for practice. Keeping Brandon Aiyuk is huge, and it's huge for Brock Purdy. And you need a number 1 wide receiver. And Brandon Aiyuk is still young. I understand he obliterated his knee, but considering how young he is, he should recover from it. He may not be the same player. That is a potential for sure. But his value to this team, to Brock Purdy, is huge. We need Brandon Aiyuk on this team, and I'm super happy we have him. A lot of people are upset. They're going like, but he obliterated his knee, and he wasn't great when he came back. So, oh my God, we never should have gave him that contract. I'm telling you right now, if the 49ers knew, even if Kyle Shanahan knew, that Brandon Aiyuk was going to be as bad as he was, and his knee was going to obliterate week 7 or week 8 or whatever it was, they would not have signed that contract. Retrospect takes like that are bullshit. It's not fair. That's the reason why players get guaranteed contracts, so they can have some resources just in case they get hurt like this. You cannot take that into a fact. You cannot put that in a factor because that can happen to anyone. Injuries can happen to any player. And Brandon Aiyuk, for the most part, has always been healthy. So to say we should have given him the contract, that's retrospect. That's a retrospect 2020 type take. That's just not fair to the situation. Some people say, Kyle Shanahan doesn't like Brandon Aiyuk. That's not true. If Kyle Shanahan didn't like Brandon Aiyuk, Kyle Shanahan never would have ran up the stairs and demanded that John Lynch and Parag sign Brandon Aiyuk then and there when they were just about to trade him to the Steelers for a second and third round pick. Kyle Shanahan would never have done that if he did not like Brandon Aiyuk. He likes Brandon Aiyuk. He respects Brandon Aiyuk. And then you're also talking about the friction. Oh, they regret signing him that contract. They regret giving him that contract. They didn't like the fact that they did that. No, they didn't like the fact how he handled the negotiations. That is known to everyone. Every 49ers fan could agree that, hey, we didn't like how he handled that negotiation. Brandon Aiyuk himself didn't like it. He says, I made it harder than it should have. I really wish I didn't do that. Like, he regret doing that. Every 49ers fan didn't like it. The front office shouldn't like it either. But that's compromise. I'm telling you right now, no front office is going to be giddy and it's going to be like, I love the fact that I made this player the highest paid player. I love the fact that I overpaid for somebody. No one's going to do that. But there's compromise, and you meet people in the middle. And that's what happened here with Brandon Aiyuk. They're not happy with how it was handled. That was the wording. They were not happy with how the contract negotiation was handled, not that they regret giving him a contract. Those are two different things. Brandon Aiyuk being on this team, if he can come back next year, full off season, ready to go, he would be great for this team, great for Brock Purdy, and definitely help us on the offensive side of the ball. Brandon Aiyuk coming back is super important. It is huge. He is a great player. He's not the number one wide receiver in the world. He's not the best, but he is a number one wide receiver that Brock Purdy benefits from immensely. The retrospect take that, hey, he got hurt, not fair. Not fair. That can happen to anyone, right? But what he can do for this team, we've seen it. We know what he can do for Brock Purdy. And we obviously saw in 2024 what we missed. Because Deebo Samuel, oh my God, don't get me started. It's a whole other conversation. But Deanna Rossini says that most likely it's not going to happen. So thank God he needs to be on this team. And it's the 11th hour, so anything can happen. It is 11th hour, and in that moment, some team can get super desperate and be like, hey, here's a second-round pick. Because that's what's going to take for the 49ers to trade Brandon Aiyuk, for that to be an offer that blows them away. Because that's what's going to take for Brandon Aiyuk not being on this team. But no team is going to trade a second-round pick for a player that won't start playing until mid-season, most likely. Brandon Aiyuk won't start playing until mid-season. That means practice, training camp, get familiar with the quarterback, etc. No team is going to give up a second-round pick for a player that's not going to start being beneficial, probably not until next year, because he needs time to come back to form. He needs time for playing time. He needs time to get familiar with the quarterback. He needs to get time to get familiar with the playbook, the scheme, everything. So Brandon Aiyuk being on this team is beneficial to the 49ers. His contract is going to be less to the cap in the future, beneficial to Brock Purdy, and no team out there is going to pay a guy who won't start playing until week 7, week 8. That's what I got to say about that. Let me know what you guys think about Brandon Aiyuk's situation. Do you think that we should trade him for anything, 3 6-round picks, like Larry Krueger says, get whatever you can from him and get out from under him? Or are you happy with the fact that we most likely will keep him and that Deanna Rossini is saying, hey, 49ers are not going to trade him? I'm happy about this. I love this. I couldn't be more excited. Let me know what you guys think. And be sure to like the video as well because it helps me out a lot. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Niner Gang. Bang, bang, Niner Gang, baby.